Good morning. Let us discuss about the Child Labour Prohibition and Regulation Act 1986 and what are the present amendment changes the Cabinet is planning about. Now, with regard to this, the Child Labour Prohibition and Regulation Act 1986, it has got certain pitfalls to it. One is, it failed to eliminate the child labour completely because in giving effect to Article 24 of the Constitution, it prohibits the child labour up to 14 years of age only in hazardous industries. And next is, it is not in accordance with International Labour Organization Conventions 138 and 182. The third thing is, the right to education, which was given under Article 21A from 6 to 14 years of age, it is in direct violation of this particular article of the Constitution and Right to Education Act then amended. Now, the present amendment, what it talks about is, all forms of the child labour has to be eliminated up to 14 years of age. But it gives exclusionary criteria, two exclusionary criteria. They are one, farmlands working in farmland, and the second thing is family enterprises. Now, what is the major criticism is this? So the present amendment, up to 14 years total child labour has to be eliminated except working on the farmland and family enterprise. And the second thing is, the present amendment tries to talk about for the adolescents from 14 to 18 years of age, and they will be prohibited from working in hazardous industries. Now, in this context, the major criticism are related to one, the family enterprises, they are highly unorganized sector. So, it finally lead to the loss of education and childhood to the children, and this can be misused. The second thing is, that it gives to lot of loopholes in the implementation of the law. So governance and also maintaining regulation with this exception becomes almost impossible. And the girl child who is necessarily disfavored in the existing situation, so will be further disfavored because of these amendments, as poverty is the major rule for sending the child to the work. So the girl child will be more and more cornered towards doing the household works under this particular regime. And next is, though the law says that these people are allowed to work only outside the school, it cannot be completely implemented. And next, what are the suggestions given is, yes, we can overhaul the entire Child Labour Prohibition and Regulation Act, and we can bring in rescue of the children, rehabilitation and schooling of the children under one comprehensive framework. Now they are being covered by different laws. They are one, Bonded Labour System Abolition Act 1976, Right to Education Act, BDs and Cigarettes Act 1996, Factories Act 1948. Like this, different acts are regulating them. Now, there has to be a interministerial coordination, especially between the Ministry of Labour, Ministry of Education, Ministry of Social Welfare, Child and Women Welfare, towards bringing in a comprehensive legislation that covers rescue, rehabilitation, and schooling of the children. That is what is the essence over here. Next is, there are two controversies which are going. The existing government has an absolute majority in the lower house but falls short in the upper house. In this context, recently the finance minister made a comment that the upper house is taking up an obstructionist strategy. So in this context, the opposition says that in the upper house they are just performing the legislative responsibility. So as per the Indian Constitution, upper house is a second house, revisory house, to avoid any hasty legislation. So in this context, the Constitution provides for various other alternatives through joint sitting, etc. in the case of a deadlock. And the second thing is, the government is resorting more and more to the money bill route to get many laws enacted. A recent RBI amendment bill or with regard to GST bill, it tried to introduce it as a finance bill. Now, in these circumstances, what the opposition demands is, our request to the chairman Hamid Ansari is to sit with the Speaker of the Lok Sabha and to provide for his guidelines what constitutes exactly a money bill. Though Article 110 of the Constitution defined in broader terms what can be a money bill, so there are no definite clear rules exist, and as of now the situation is the decision of the Speaker is final on this issue. So a clear guidelines have to come up. And next is with regard to the UK elections. So what it is being said. Now, if you carefully observe in the UK elections, the Scottish National Party has got more than around 56 seats in Scotland. So, what it is being talked about is the Labour Party, which was traditionally strong in the Scotland, lost its confidence of the people. Especially, people see the Labour Party as an insider of the UK's London's major strategy. So they wanted to assert their distinctive identity, and also they want to bring in greater autonomy to the region through this particular actions. So the victory of SNP may rejuvenate the demands for Scottish freedom, and also the SNP campaigned on three major plans. One is opposition to the austerity drive, which is proposed by the Conservatives, and opposition to the nuclear weapons, which is also a opposition to Conservative position, and devolution of powers to Scotland. There is some agreement on this issue, but however, the victory of Scottish National Party is going to revive the freedom demands and demands for another referendum which was lost by the Scotland previously. So that's going to create another wave of rejuvenation in Scotland. In this context, the entire analysis of the election shows that the issues that are majorly found in elections are not national, but they are subnational, regional and local. So that is what is a change with regard to the elections over there. Let us see the next article. Prime Minister Modi and his interactions with Li Keqiang, the Premier of China. Now, what are the major issues discussed? So, Modi's doctrine for China, it is about bottom-up, people-to-people approach, which is called all-pervasive interaction with the neighbor. So, in this case, India has made it clear that it wanted to have a positive relationship and to build high levels of trust with the Chinese and expect the same from the China in this regard. So, various confidence building measures were signed, including the hotline between the army headquarters and also certain other measures to maintain the peace and tranquility at the borders. Among 24 engagements, 13 mention about strengthening people-to-people ties. They are sister city relationships between Hyderabad and Qingdao, Aurangabad and Duhang, and also establishment of consulates between Chengdu and Chennai. The building of ties between India and yoga colleges in Kunming and Yunnan provinces of China. So, and also, the tourism is one area which is not explored between India and China. So added to that, Buddhism and yoga, they have got a strong liking in China. In this context, what it was suggested is e-visas which were agreed by the Prime Minister Modi will facilitate the tourism potential. And also, the 2015, it will be celebrated as Year of India in China and 2016 as Year of China in India, which is going to further strengthen the tourism. And also MOU is signed between Doordarshan of India and CCTV of China. So these two are going to provide for media exchanges and dispels the mistrust with regard to reporting in both the countries, and they change or build positive impression about each other. And next is investor friendly climate in India. The Prime Minister Modi, what he said is the following decade is going to be a next frontier of economic revolution in India. So what are the factors he stressed why economic revolution is going to come onto the Indian side? The reasons are, one is young population. So 80 plus crores of population, they are less than 35 years, which provides for a new opportunity. And the second thing is, so the English speaking population. But major obstacles which are posed were lack of a friendly bureaucratic environment. So he talks about simplification of the rules, use of digital technology, building a predictable, stable, competitive tax regime that can integrate Indian markets and economy with the global markets and economy. So, but however, creation of skilled manpower is a major deficit. In this, India can take the advantage from China, which has got a skilled manpower, trained and skilled manpower. Another issue which has come for discussion was related to the United Nations Security Council permanent membership. Among the P5, the China is the only country which did not at explicitly support the Indian membership to UN State Security Council. What it is saying is it will back the Indian aspiration to play a big role in the world today. So what is the definition of this big role? Is that mean a membership into the P5? It is not yet clearly made by the Chinese. So and another thing is the army headquarters. So what the thing is, a hotline will be established between army headquarters and also new frontiers will be opened or new points of contact will be opened at the boundary so that local commanders can talk to each other at the time of emergency and it can diffuse the crisis situations. And India also stressed on clarification of line of actual control so that the relations can much brighten. And added to that, India has stressed that the Chinese leadership has to take a strategic and long-term view of the relations. And one more thing is outer space and nuclear energy, which is very much discussed. In this context, the relations between ISRO and China's National Space Administration, they are going to be strengthened. And on nuclear energy, the peaceful use of nuclear energy was discussed on both the sides. Next is this article, what it talks about, the potential of tourism in Northeast. So there is a greater potential for community tourism where the people are, the tourists can explore the distinctive cultures and distinctive traditions, local articrafts by living in close association with these people. In this context, the major problems are lack of connectivity and infrastructure. So the author suggests a riverine transport system will bring in greater revenue and prosperity to this particular region. And next is, with regard to the killing of bloggers in Bangladesh, there are two people, prominent bloggers, the Ananta Bijay Das and Avijit Roy. These people were killed recently by the Islamic fundamentalists. So now, there are two parties. One is Awami League, Bangladesh Nationalist Party. Now, Awami League has actually taken up the long pending process of indictment of Jamaat-e-Islami leaders for the brutal war crimes during 1971 Liberation War. As a retaliation, the attacks on the people is on the people who are supporting the secular tradition and aesthetic principles is also increased. Surprisingly, the opposition is in line with the Bangladeshi fundamentalist elements which is providing for a new Philip. So the sharply divided politics or political polarization can be said as one of the major reasons for the death of these bloggers. So in the law to maintain for the religious tolerance and peace, protecting these people who are expressing an independent voice is very much necessary. So these are the things. And one more thing is related to the RTI. So this article is not reported in the Hyderabadi edition, but however this article is very much important. So now, after 10 years of RTI implementation, so still there are many problems over here. One is poor record management. So already I told to you that is RTI with regard to this, the second ARC has said the special establishment or public records law towards maintaining and streamlining the public record management in the country. And the second is lack of infrastructure and human resources with the commission. And third is there are many supportive laws to make RTI effective. One such a thing is the Whistleblower Protection Act. In this context, recently the cabinet made a decision to keep security and integrity of the nation out of the purview of the RTI Act. Out of the purview of the Whistleblower Protection Act. So, what it is suggested is, instead of providing for certain confidentiality clauses, that blanket exclusion of the defense deals out of Whistleblower Protection Act is a retrogressive step, and it is going to increase the corruption and secrecy in defense deals. And there is a foundation called RAAG. It is RTI Assessment and Analysis Group. In its 2014 report, it has said that a waiting period of up to 60 years in Madhya Pradesh, up to 18 years in West Bengal is required to clear all the pending cases before State Information Commission if the cases are cleared at the existing pace. That is what is the amount of the pending of the cases. Another thing it brought into was open is only in 3% of the cases where the departments did not devolve the information, the penalties were imposed. So that's why the deterrence of the law is decreasing. It means that RTI is more like a weapon without ammunition, or is becoming a teethless law which cannot deter the public authorities to maintain transparency. So again, it's maintaining transparency. So these are the things. So thank you very much.